Hello, my name is Lewis and welcome to day 21 of Decktober. Today we're looking at a $40 budget Atla Palani Nest Tender deck tech. Atla is a human shaman that you can pay to and tap to create a 0-1 egg token, and whenever an egg you control dies, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature, putting that card onto the battlefield. This deck is all about making those eggs, having loads of ways to crack them and get them off the field, and trigger Atla and shoot out huge creatures that can stomp all over your opponents for the victory. Now, let's get right into this excellent budget brew. As always, we're starting off with the ramp, of which for Atla there is plenty. First here we have those trusty mana dorks in Avacyn's Pilgrim to tap for a Plains and Elvish Mystic to tap for a Forest. We've added in Findhorn and Llanowar Elves as more one-drop forest tappers. There is Trusty Steve to sacrifice and get a basic land onto the field tapped, and Cultivate to search your library for 2 basic lands, putting one onto the field tapped and the other into your hand. We have Rampant Growth to search your library for 1 basic, putting it onto the field tapped, and Explore to play an extra land per turn and draw a card. Taking that trip to Signet City now, we have Arcane to tap for any of those Naya colours, and Boros Signet to pay and tap for Boros. There's Gruul Signet to pay and tap for Gruul, and to round it all off we have Selesnya Signet to pay and tap for Selesnya. There's Trusty Staples Commander Sphere to add any of that Naya option, and Mindstone to add a colourless, with both of them being able to be sacked to get some card draw. And finally, we have Sol Ring, because Sol Ring. Before we get onto all of that egg sacrificing, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for all things MTG. It's completely free to do, and it helps our channel grow and grow as we head towards 2,000 subscribers. Now we're looking at all of these sacrificial options that this deck has to offer. We need instant sack outlets with Atla, so we can remove those eggs straight away and get some terrifying creatures onto the board. First up is Culling Days to tap and sack a creature, putting a charge counter on Culling Days. We can eventually pay and sack to draw a card for each charge counter on it, which could be loads. And Barrage of Expendables to pay and sack a creature to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. There are similar cards in Goblin Bombardment to sack a creature and deal 1 damage to any target, and Makeshift Munitions to pay and sack a creature to deal 1 damage to any target. These cards especially are extra lethal. If we have 2 eggs on the field, then we can sack 1 egg and then deal 1 damage to the other, and just like that, you have 2 big egg triggers. We have Warstorm Surge that says when a creature ETBs under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target, and Aether Flash that deals 2 damage to any creature when it comes into play. That is instant egg removal with Aether Flash. We've got Fanatical Devotion to sack a creature to regenerate target creature, and Martyr's Cause to sack a creature and prevent all damage to a creature or player from one source. Lastly, we have Fling to sack a creature, and Fling deals damage equal to sacrifice creature's power to any target. Having any of these sacrificial cards in the deck are essential, as without them, you're just hoping your opponents will remove those eggs, and once they know what horrifying creatures can appear, they won't be letting those eggs go anywhere. Now we're looking at all the big scary creatures that we can pull from those egg triggers. Starting off with some disgusting Eldrazi with Artisan of Kozilek with that Annihilator 2, and Bane of Bala Ged again with that Annihilator 2. There's Desolation Twin that if cast gets you a 10/10 Eldrazi creature token, and Eldrazi Devastator a big 8/9 with Trample. For our last Eldrazi we have Ulamog's Crusher again with that Annihilator 2, and moving on to some big dinos we have Etali Primal Storm that when attacks each player exiles a top card of their library which you may cast without paying their mana costs. We've added Galta Primal Hunger, a huge 12/12 with Trample, and Titanoth Rex an 11/11 with Trample. Any of these creatures we're getting off that egg trigger for free are really improving our board state and making it tough for our opponents to deal with. There's Yidaro Wandering Monster, a giant 8/8 with Trample and Haste, and Zetelpa Primal Dawn with Flying, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample and Indestructible. There is Apex Altasaur that fights 1 target creature you don't control when ETBing with that added Enrage mechanic to keep on fighting, and Kolga the Titan Ape that also ETBs and fights a creature you don't control, as well as destroying defending player's artifact or enchantment when it attacks. We've added Wayfaring Temple whose power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control, but more importantly having that populate so when it deals combat damage to a player you can create another egg. And Aggressive Mammoth, a 6/6 elephant that can give all of your other creatures trample. For some token creators we have Giant Adaphage that when deals combat damage to a player, you create a token that's a copy of Giant Adaphage, and Dragonlair Spider that whenever an opponent casts a spell, it's creating us a 1/1 insect creature token. There's Soul of the Harvest that says whenever another non-token creature ETBs under your control, draw a card, and Sun Titan for some tasty recursion whenever it ETBs or attacks. For our final two, we have Terastodon that when ETBs we can destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents, with destroyed permanents controllers getting a 3/3 elephant token for each card destroyed this way. An Armada Worm with Trample that when ETBs creates a 5/5 worm token with Trample. Now we've looked at those big scary monsters, it's time to look at the best of the rest in this budget brew. Starting off with Meme Master Steve's favourite card, Jandor's Saddlebags to untap target creature, and Sarith the Viper's Fang to untap target creature we control, as well as giving our tap creatures Death Touch and those untapped ones Hexproof. We've got Puppet Strings to tap or untap target creature, and Vitalise as a huge 1-drop forest that can untap all creatures you control at instant speed. Cards like this are essential, so that if we've got the mana we can tap Atla to create an egg, then untap to be able to tap again and create another egg. That is cracking stuff. We have possibly the most important card in the deck in Maskwood Nexus to make all creatures you control every creature type. Huge if all of your creatures are eggs, then whenever any creature on your side of the field dies, you're getting so many more egg triggers. And Fire of Yavimaya to give all of your creatures haste, meaning those big scary creatures can attack your opponents from the get-go. We've got Druid's Deliverance to act as a fog effect and populate and copy one of your tokens, and Rootborn Defences to give your creatures indestructible until end of turn and have as another populate option. For more populating madness, we have Growing Ranks to populate at the beginning of your upkeep, and Song of the World Soul to populate every time you cast a spell. That is huge. Onto the card draw, we have Shamanic Revelation to draw a card for each creature you control, hopefully taking advantage of that ferocious mechanic to gain 4 life for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. And Return of the Wild Speaker to draw cards equal to the greatest power amongst non-human creatures you control, which as you've seen could be absolutely crazy. We've got Colossal Majesty to draw you a card at the beginning of your upkeep if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, and Garruk's Uprising to give your creatures trample, as well as drawing you a card when it ETBs if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, and every additional time a creature with power 4 or greater ETBs under your control. For some protection, we have Swiftfoot Boots to give Atla Hexproof and Haste, and Snake Umbra with Totem Armour that also gives enchanted creature +1/+1 and card draw whenever it deals combat damage to a player. There's Divine Reckoning for everyone to choose a creature they don't control, destroying the rest, and Autumn's Veil that says spells you control can't be countered by black or blue this turn, and creatures you control can't be the target of blue or black spells this turn. Finally, for a bit of recursion, we have Regrowth to return target card from the graveyard to our hand. So now we're finishing off this budget brew with those lands, and first up we've got 15 forest, 6 plains and 6 mountain. This is because our deck is very heavily leaning towards those forest, so we need to make sure we're getting all of that green mana. We have Command Tower and Exotic Orchard to help fix our mana, and some Commander Classics in Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse to tap and sack to fetch out a basic land onto the field tapped. There is High Market to have another option to sack a creature, also gaining us a life, and Rogue's Passage to pay for and tap to make target creature unblockable until end of turn. We have so many strong creatures that we might as well have that option to make them unblockable. We've got Naya Panorama we can sack to get out any basic land of those Naya colours, and Myriad Landscape to pay and sack to get 2 basic lands that share a land type onto the field tapped. Finally, we have Jungle Shrine that enters tapped but is yet again another option to get us any of those delicious mana colours. Speaking from my own personal experience, Atla is one of the most fun commanders to use, as you'll be wanting to do nothing but get those eggs out and crack them all game long. Check into Decktober Day 22 tomorrow, where we'll be looking at a really cool white-green commander option from Modern Horizons 2. There we have it, that is the Atla Palani Budget Deck Tech. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for all things MTG. Check out our link tree in the description below for all of our social media and affiliate links, but for now I'm all tapped out, so I'll see you in the next video.